Hello there and welcome back to another one of my thrilling videos. It's great to be back. So today, as you've probably already figured out, I am looking excuse me, at the Sony CCD TR1100E, which launched into the European market circa 1997. What was we getting up to in 1997? It's that long ago. So today, going to have a little close-up look at the camera as we always do, and then I've also got some pre-recorded footage for you to have a look at. So this camera, and we'll jump into this in a little bit more detail shortly, I picked up in a nice little carry case from a charity shop about, I'd probably say it was about 6 to 8 weeks ago in Lowestoft. And as per usual, I never record anything when I go to charity shops, so maybe I need to start doing that. Anyway, as we'll get into shortly, and we have a little bit more of a closer look, the camera which I'm shooting on now was marked up for 50 UK pounds, but I managed to barter my way down to 15 UK pounds. And I always say this, and I'm sorry if you don't always agree, don't be scared of bartering in a charity shop, because at the end of the day, quite often they put these items up very high, or they price them quite high, and then they often sit in the bottom of cabinets forever. So if you ask the question, then usually you'll get a reduction. They wanted 50, I said I couldn't afford it, which was genuinely true. The gentleman in the shop said he would go down to 25. I said I don't really need any more cameras, which we all know is true, because I don't need any more cameras. And then I left the store, and then I was kind of curious about a few things, so I went back, had a look at the camera, and I said, would you take 15? He was like, of course. So it's a pretty straightforward transaction. Anyway, oh, and before I forget, I'm actually recording the audio using my little wireless Rode microphones, so it's awesome. Any camera, as you know, with a little plug and play camera port, sorry, little plug and play microphone port within it, you can use these microphones, so that's fantastic. Better quality audio. So what we're going to do is going to have a little closer look at the camera, and then I'm going to show you the pre-recorded footage, and at the very end of the video there's just a few examples of some of the other functions that are on the camera which I thought you might like to see. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into it. Oh, okay, so as promised, we're going to have a little bit more of a closer look at the Sony CCD TR1100E. Before I start talking about the camera, I just want to show you what I actually got in the bag, the carry case. I got the camera, I got not one blank cassette, not two blank cassettes, but actually 3 blank cassettes. There's one in the camera. The user, or whoever had owned it previously, had blanked all the tapes. So that was quite good of them. So that was cool. I got the Sony Handycam carry strap, which was in there. There was no charger, unfortunately, and there was no batteries, unfortunately. But one thing which I'd never seen before, I believe this is a third-party model, but the camera did come with, I believe, an original, or maybe this is the original. Let's move the camera just a moment. Was a battery case for the back of the camera, which you actually put AA batteries into. So basically, if you just push the button and pull it out, you can insert your 6 AA batteries into there. Oh, excuse me. And then put that onto the back of the recording unit. Sorry, back of the camera. And I'd never seen one of these before. In all my time with video cameras, I'd never seen one of these. Now, as I said, one of these did come with the camera, but on further inspection, I believe that this is a third-party one, although I could be wrong. So got that in there, and then I also got the remotes that come with it. I believe that this was the standard remote that came with the camcorder, although it says video 8, so I'm not entirely sure, because this is a high 8 camera. And then I also got a smaller little remote, which I looked into, and there doesn't seem to be much value, but I believe you would have had to have purchased this one. So it's quite nice to just see the different styles of remote. So I got all of this in the bag. Don't believe there was anything else, I'm just checking. But yeah, if I just bring the bag over here as well, you can just see that, and on the front there is the tag. And you will see it was £50 and got it for £15. So I was really pleased about that. So that's what I got. So anyway, let's move these things out of the way and let's crack on with having a little look at the camera. Now, if you're familiar with these kind of camcorders, you're not going to, I suppose, be getting too much more information out of this video. But one thing that's noticeable is that this camcorder is a wide lens. And it's my understanding that not every single camcorder in the range came equipped with wide lenses. So in some ways, it's quite a useful camera. It doesn't sway me in regards to what about keeping the camera or wanting to keep hold of the camera, but it's just a nice function on the camera. So as we can see right on there on the front, you've got all your information there, so I'll leave it there for any of you that are interested. Sony video lens, optical 21 by zoom / autofocus, and then all your random information down there which tells you everything about the lens. And whilst we're looking at the front of the camera, you can see it says Hi-Fi Stereo Precision CCD, and here we have the microphone right here at the front. Okay, so to turn this camera on, at the moment it's currently on the off position, right there, it's currently in the off position. If we want to turn the camera on, we just slide the switch up to power the camera on. Get a nice little bleep to tell you that the camera's on, a little bit of a churning from the insides. And if we want to go to the player mode, simply press the button down to go back into the playback mode. So that is your power. So let's just have a quick look at the other things on here. So we can see it's a super steady shot Handycam video high 8. We can see the model number just here, and you have a nice little LCD display here. So when we turn the camera on, just like to see that, displays that it's high 8, that it's in SP mode, and it shows you a time code on the screen. So on the camera, we have various buttons that you'll probably be familiar with. We have the fader button, so if you want to have a nice fade in or fade out. We have backlight button there, or backlight compensation. Here we have your focus options, so it's quite interesting, and at the end of this video I'll just give a demonstration of the focus. So we've got a switch here. It's currently in automatic. If you slide it down, you can put it into manual, and you can use this dial here to focus things up, which is a really nice function on this camera because not all Sony camcorders used to have that. And then if you hold it down, you have the infinity option, which focuses on the thing furthest in the distance. Up here we have your date and time, so you can toggle those on and off as you see fit. You have a counter reset button right there. Apologies for the light. So if you want to reset things, you can do so. We have a steady shot on and off button. I mean, quite why anybody would buy a steady shot camera and then want the option to turn that off is totally beyond my comprehension. But I've just put it onto the off position just because it makes me chuckle. Why would you turn it off? Let's put it back onto on. Steady shot on. So here you have an option to control your exposure. And again, similarly, the exposure is amended by, if I can just show you this, right here. So there's another dial at the bottom here. So if you press the exposure button, that is the dial that you have to turn to amend your exposure. So again, that's quite handy because often you would see these options on higher end cameras. Don't know if this was a higher end camera. Can't find a lot of information out about it. Then you have picture effects. I've done a small video at the end, or which will be at the end, which shows you the picture effects. Then you have the program AE. I'm going to come back to that very shortly. You get to the back of the camcorder, so there's lots of knobs and buttons, very 90s. You have your title button, so if you want to have the option of adding a title to your recording, you can do so. You have got your menu button there, and again, you can go through the different various options in the menu to sort things out for your liking. Okay, so something I'd never ever seen before on a camera was this thing here, and it's called, if you can see that, anti-ground shooting. And again, we have a sliding switch here, and there's a number of icons, if you can see that. So at the top, it's kind of like an arrow going back on itself in a loop. It'll focus for me, there we go. And the record button. Then there's just a dot, and then there is, excuse me, 5 seconds. We will talk about that in a minute. And then we have a button for various different shooting modes, and there is again a little video on the very end of this video that talks about that. Okay, so we're going to turn the camera around now. So as I said, this camera didn't come with a battery, but these would just be supplied with your standard lithium battery. And if you are interested, the battery that originally come with this camera was an NP, so November Papa, F for Fred, 530, NP F530 battery pack. Fortunately, I had a number available to me which go with my Atomos Ninja Star, and I've been using those. Okay, so as promised, I'm just coming back to speak to you about this button here and this switch over here. So here we have the Program AE button, AE standing for Automatic Exposure. So if you're filming or you're getting ready to film and you want a specific setting to help you get the best possible picture, then you might want to press that button. If you press that button, it will cycle through, I'm just counting from the manual here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 different shooting modes will be offered to you, and they are Spotlight mode, soft portrait mode, sport lesson mode, beach and ski mode, sunset and moon mode, and then you have landscape mode. So for example, landscape mode, recording a landscape through a window or a Ynet. So if I guess you're in a specific setting and you want to record in that way, then there you go, you have that option. Or sport lesson mode, capturing high-speed action in sports such as golf or tennis. So you have 6 different modes that you can cycle through to help you get the best possible picture possible. Now over here, which was something that I found really interesting, it is anti-ground shooting. And I'd never ever had this on any of the cameras that I've ever had. So I'd be interested to know if you've ever had anti-ground shooting cameras. So the current mode that it's set in at the moment, which is kind of like a little horseshoe arrow with the button indicated there for the recorder there, that's your standard recording mode. So if you press that in and then you release it, then obviously it's recording. You have to press it again and release it for it to stop recording. Press it once to start recording, press it again to stop recording. Okay, if we move the slider down, and it has an arrow just pointing toward the button there, then you have to basically just hold it down. So you would press the record button, and you would have to keep the record button pressed up until the point that you're ready to stop, and then release it. So it gives you slightly more control. Now interestingly, 5 sec or 5 second mode isn't actually what you think. Originally I thought it was some kind of delay, but reading from the instruction booklet it says if you select 5 sec, 5 dots appear in the viewfinder. The dots disappear at a rate of 1 per second. When 5 seconds elapse and all the dots disappear, the camcorder switches to standby mode automatically. So the only way that I think this would be useful, when shooting with a camera like this, is if, for example, we think about like if we was shooting with a 8mm or a Super 8 camera, and we only have say 3.5 minutes worth of film. So I guess if you're at like a party or you're at a wedding and you don't really want to just be wandering around forever, you can put it into 5 second mode and it will limit what you can record. I suppose then you would end up with just loads and loads and loads of little clips that you could maybe use in a much more fun way. So yeah, I just wanted to speak to you about those two items, the Program AE and the anti-ground shooting. So now we got round the back and you have your record button here. You can put your camera into standby mode by pressing it into the locked position where it is now, or you can put it into the lock position as well. So if you want the camera to be locked or you want to put it into standby, you can do so. And then obviously you press that down to record. Okay, so getting to the other side of the camera, on the top we have your eject mechanism there. I'm not going to do it for the video, but it works perfectly well. You've got your LANC port, and then we move across here. And then you have your plug-in power for the mic, plug-in power. Don't know why it's called plug-in power, somebody tell me. And then you also have a jack for headphones. Okay, almost there now. And then usefully, this has got the AV out cables, and it's also got an S-video port. S-video always useful if you want to try and get the best picture quality going. And then if we just turn the camera onto play mode and we look at the top here, it shows you that you've got your stop, your rewind, your play, your fast forward and your pause, and you've also got your little editing buttons. So if you wanted to make a very basic edit with this camera using a VCR, then you could. So if anybody fancies that out there, then please make a video about it and let me know, because it used to be an absolute pain in the backside. So I don't think I've missed anything off here. Oh, and I should say that the viewfinder, you can remove this and clean it. It's very simple. There's just a little screw in the side here. If I can show you that. There you go. If it wants to focus up, you're going to focus. There you go. Little screw that you remove here, and then you can just take that out and clean it. And obviously it moves up and down. So that is also useful. So yeah, that is the camera. Sony CCD TR1100E. It's I mean, it's a really good looking camera. I think it's a really bulky. You feel confident using this camera. I can imagine if I'd had this back in the 90s, I'd have been really pleased. Now, have you spotted this one thing that this camera hasn't got that other cameras generally have? Have you got it yet? Too late. Well, it doesn't have a fold-out screen, a little LCD screen. When I was at college in about 99-2000, I got a Sony camcorder and it had a pull-out screen. Like I say, this came out in 1997, and it feels to me like this was a slight step up from some of your average Sony camcorders, just because of the number of options. What I'd really like to know was this the last Sony camcorder before the new models came out with pull-out screens? I would really like to know that. So that is the camera. I hope that I have showed you enough. If not, what else do you want? Let's crack on and enjoy the videos that are coming next. Okay, so I just very briefly wanted to talk to you about the zoom options on this camera. So as I pointed out earlier on, you've got a focus switch and a dial right next to the focus switch. So at the moment we're in automatic focus, and also the digital zoom is switched on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into that newspaper article which I have stuck on the door. This is digital zoom, and obviously this is in automatic focus. So I always felt that these cameras did a really good job at focusing. And there you have it. It's rocking a little bit now as it gets closer. I'm just going to take my hand off the top of the camera. And there you have it. So that camera is now zoomed in fully on automatic focus. So now I'm going to go into manual focus. Now if I roll the dial, you'll see that it's slowly coming out of focus. So I suppose that's useful if you want that function, if you're making a fun little home movie and you want to be able to have that control. But there you go, that is currently in manual. And you know, the thing with infinity focus, if I pull it down, you'll see, you know what's going to happen, of course, because it's too close. So what this indicates is that it can focus further than that newspaper article that's stuck on the door. So what we'll do is that if I just turn the camera around and just shoot out my window, you just might see the difference. So this would be a good example. So we've zoomed in, I'm looking out my window and I've just zoomed into a television aerial. So if you've set your focus onto a certain area and you zoom in and you've focused it, when you pull on the infinity, it's going to go beyond that. So if we pull down on the infinity switch now, you'll see that it focuses to the furthest thing. So over here, that should be in focus. So if we try and zoom in, it should remain focused, or as best as it can. So now we're in infinity focus and we're fully zoomed in. So I hope that that helps. Also, there's another interesting function on this camera. You have kind of three types of shooting mode in relation to how you would like the picture to look. So right now we're shooting in what would be considered the camcorder's standard mode. There is no name for it, but this is just the standard mode. This mode is cinema, and I think you can figure out why. We have the black bars at the top and the bottom of the screen. So this is cinema mode. And this mode is 16:9 full screen. And I just felt that that might be something that you might be interested in out there, especially if you're wanting to shoot or get a specific look to your short films that you might make with this camera. Also, as we discussed earlier in regards to the anti-ground shooting switch, I'm currently on the middle one, and that's the middle one where you can just hold down the record button on the back of the camera, and as soon as I release it, the recording stops. Press down on the red button, and now I'm going to release my finger off the back of it. Hello there, and welcome back to another one of my thrilling videos. It's great to be back. So, as promised, this is going to be a kind of review of the Sony TR1100E, and I'm going to take it with me kind of out and about today in kind of Kent, just over in kind of deeper Kent at the moment, visiting my sister, but I'm going to head back over to Bluewater Shopping Centre with a friend of mine today, and I'm going to try and do a little bit of filming there. Hopefully the security service is there, or the security anyway. Might not go, what are you doing with a camera which is 25 years old? You know, what are you doing, you suspicious man? Hopefully none of that. But yeah, let me know what you think of the video, let me know what you think of the quality. Let's get on with it. Yeah. So Lee, what was your experience of returning to Bluewater? Be brutally honest.
Sometimes the noise is particularly overwhelming because
you get too overwhelmed, right?
Yeah, I mean, just look at the climbing walls. Why would you not be overwhelmed?
I better not point the camera over there.
Oh, that's true, yeah, because there's children over there.
This is a 1997 camera, walking towards a car from 2002. The Grandadmobile. See, now this is random, but my friend is drawing a picture in my sketchbook, because the last time that we saw each other was almost about 8 years ago, and he'd done a sketch in the book, so he's now doing another sketch before we part company. I'll have a go. So I don't know if this is getting me, it's probably a little bit too low down, but going to depart Bluewater very shortly, and then who knows what other magical stuff is going to appear on the video. See you in a bit.
I fucked that up, let's do it again.
It's my nephew again. He's been in a few of my videos. I just thought I'd just get him in this video very quickly. Everything alright?
Yes, everything is very good.
Why are you talking in that funny voice for?
I don't know.
Yes, and that
quite a significant moment just now. I've just learnt that Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II has passed away.
A person who they in some way
Served for 70 years.
has gone, was always there.
That's crazy.
Reassuring presence, this
Bless her.
embodiment of stability and continuity.
Okay, another thing I want to briefly talk to you about are the picture effects. So, here we go. If we press the picture effect button on the left hand side of the camera, we start off in pastel mode. Next up, negative art. Always a favourite, love a bit of negative art. Ooh, negative art. And then we have the classic sepia. Who doesn't like sepia? Like an old tea bag. Then we have black and white. And what's funny about this is that when you're looking through the viewfinder, everything is black and white. So that's quite interesting. Next one is solarize, which I've always found weird, solar eyes. Never really had a use for solar eyes in any videos I've ever made. And then you have the classic mosaic to make people look incredibly suspicious in your videos. And then we have slim. Ooh, so that kind of squeezes the picture and makes something look, well, it says slim, looks fatter, but there's slim. And then stretch. I don't know what's one. Slim, stretch, slim, stretch. Okay, that's it. So they are the picture effects: stretch, slim, mosaic, solar eyes, black and white, sepia, negative art, and pastel. I think that's 7. So there you go.